Hi, welcome to this course on finance for non-finance. In this particular session, I will speak about the course structure for the course on finance for non-finance. Primarily speaking, this course is divided into three broad parts. The first part is understanding the financial statements. The second part is related to analyzing these financial statements. And the third part is related to some of the advanced concepts in finance. So if you are starting new on finance, then this is the right course for you. We start from the very basics and we go to the advanced concepts that might be required if you're working in the world of finance. So let me first of all try and introduce what financial statements are and how they could be useful for you. So essentially, if I speak about financial statements, so financial statements are like the language that finance people speak. So accounting is actually the language that finance people speak, and financial statements are like a prose written in accounting. So let's say if you were to go to England, then English is the language that they speak. And if you were to read any newspaper, then you need to understand English to understand the newspaper. And the financial statement is like the statement. It's like that newspaper. So the finance people speak the financial statements. Primarily speaking, there are three kinds of financial statements. The first is the P&L, the profit and loss account, also called the income statement. The second financial statement is the balance sheet. And the third financial statement is the statement of cash flows. Now, any company that is operating in this world would essentially have to understand what the P&L, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flow is. And that's where we start the course on finance for non-finance. So even if you have no expertise or experience in finance, you would be able to understand what the financial statements are. Is that okay? So if I were to go deeper into the course structure, in the first week, we'll try to understand what financial statements are and why they are needed. We would explain this with the help of a video tutorial. So this is sort of a light week that will set the context for you. In the next week, we will understand the first financial statement, also called the income statement. So in this particular week, we'll try to understand the income statement with the help of 8 video tutorials. We would also have an Excel template, and we'll have two cases. In the cases, we'll understand what revenue recognition is, and we'll take up an actual case study of Accenture to understand revenue recognition. We'll understand what earning per share is. You might have heard about this term called the earning per share. We would explain what this term is, and we'll try to calculate this term for Apple in Excel. And then eventually we'll try to understand if you have understood the concepts related to income statement or not. So in the week 2, we will cover what the income statement is. Similarly, in week 3, we'll again sort of do a hands-on exercise to understand what the balance sheet is. This will be covered with the help of 4 video tutorials and Excel sheets. So essentially we'll take up a case study where we'll try to understand what the balance sheet for Accenture is. We'll take the actual annual report for Accenture and then try to understand what the balance sheet is, just like we've understood the profit and loss account. We'll take up another exercise on the balance sheet. Once we've understood the second financial statement, in the fourth week, we'll try to understand what the statement of cash flows is. So just to give you a hint, the income statement and the balance sheets are recognized. They are sort of accounting concepts, accrual concepts. The cash flow statement is an actual cash statement. We will understand what the cash flow statement is, and again we'll take up a case study where we'll take up the actual cash flow of the Accenture that's reported in their annual report and then try to understand the statement of cash flows. We'll also have an exercise on the cash flows. And then none of these financial statements exist in silo. We will try to collate them together, put them together in perspective, and understand what all these three statements speak about. Is that okay? So we'll have a complete perspective, a complete business perspective, where we will put all the three statements together and then try to understand how each of the transaction that's actually happening in the actual world impacts these three statements. Again, as far as all the weeks are concerned, the trainings is all hands-on with the help of Excel templates that we'll be building along with you. Is that okay? And followed by actual case studies where we take up the cash flow statements or the annual reports of an actual company to understand as in how all this impacts in the real world to make it more practical and hands-on in nature. So once we've understood the financial statements, once we understand what the language that finance people speak about, we'll try analyzing the financial statements. The first thing that we would do in this analysis is called the ratio analysis. So we will understand what the ratios are, how these ratios are classified. So they are classified in profitability ratios, liquidity ratios, activity ratios, solvency ratios. Primarily to understand the ratios for a particular company, these are sort of the ratios that we speak about. We'll understand how they should vary with respect to time. Let's say year on year, how these ratios could change and what the impact is. Or let's say a peer comparison. Let's say if I am Accenture and I have IBM as my peer, how do I compare myself with my peers? We'll also understand some of the advanced ratios like the DuPont analysis and what the market ratios are. So for example, we have spoken about the earning per share. So what the earning per share is, or let's say a PEG, a price earning growth ratio, what does it mean? This will be covered with the help of 8 video tutorials, an Excel template and case study. You'll also be given one homework exercise to better understand your concepts on the ratio analysis. Once we've understood the ratio analysis, we'll come back to corporate finance. As far as corporate finance is concerned, this is the real crux of finance. So if you don't have any background in finance, probably till this point of time, it's just like the building blocks for you. And this is the real finance, where we start with the time value of money. Time value of money per se is a very simple concept, compounding and discounting. But in finance, this is the most widely applied concept. Once we understand the time value of money, we'd understand what NPV and IRR is. NPV is net present value. IRR is internal rate of return. Once we understand these two concepts, we'll understand what the free cash flow to the firm and the equity is. That's primarily the cash that impacts valuation. So then we'll understand some of the other models for valuation like the dividend discount model, the relative theory model, the multiples, and within multiples we'll cover both the trading multiples and the transaction multiples. This is the most meaty way for you to understand finance, but unless you understand the financial statements and its impact, just understanding corporate finance might not make any sense. This will be covered with the help of 13 video tutorials and Excel templates to make sure that all your understanding is practical in nature. Once we understand corporate finance, then we come to some of the other concepts like the break-even analysis, where we'll again explain it with the help of 6 videos and Excel templates. So we would cover the break-even analysis. We'll understand what break-even analysis is. We'll take up a case study. We'll try complicating that case study to build in taxes, synergy, and creating a dashboard for the break-even analysis. Please note that all of this is covered with the basics of Excel. So you understand how Excel is to be applied in all these concepts, right? And again, application of Excel in finance. So it's a completely hands-on training. That makes sure that you are able to practically apply these concepts in your real life. Now, once you've understood the analysis of financial statements, we'll come to some of the advanced concepts in finance. So for example, we'll understand some of the advanced accounting concepts like long-lived assets, depreciation. Within depreciation, we'll understand some of the advanced mechanisms of depreciation like the straight line method, the double declining method, the deferred taxes. We'll also understand what amortization, goodwill is, working capital is, and how inventory is managed. Again, this will be covered with the help of video tutorials and actual hands-on Excel templates that you can work on. Again, in the week 10, we'll take a look at some of the advanced concepts like trend analysis, where we'll understand some of the mathematics that's applied in company valuation. For example, what's the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, coefficient of variation. Again, covered with the help of video tutorials and Excel templates. Then we'll understand some of the advanced concepts that can be applied in the startup world. So what is the unit economics? So unit economics essentially speaks about, for 1 unit of producing the good, how much money do I need to spend? If you're working in marketing, so you need to understand the concepts of unit economics. Unless you understand your unit economics, you can never be profitable in business. So we'll understand what relevant costs are. When you are making a pricing decision, how that pricing decision is going to be based on your relevant costs. So let's say we'll understand what is old versus new machine, buying versus leasing, adding versus dropping a segment, and make versus buy. So in this particular week, it'll be practical implementation of a particular product, whether you should make it, whether you should buy it, and so on. This is again an important week. That's actual, that's actually practical and hands-on, and could add real value to you if you're working as a marketing manager, if you're working in a startup, or let's say if you're a project manager, this could be very relevant for you. Then we'll understand some of the accounting abuses, why people make frauds, what are frauds, and again we'll take up 3 case studies: the Xerox Corporation, WorldCom, and Enron Corporation. Please note that finance is all about interpretation of the numbers. Is that okay? So what the P&L and the balance sheet that we see, they are actually accrual concepts, and you could change the accounting concepts to change these numbers. We'll understand how people change these numbers to show better results than actually they are. Is that okay? So that's about the coverage of the course on finance for non-finance. Again, if I were to summarize, we would be covering it in 3 parts. The first part would be understanding the financial statements, where we would cover the P&L, that's the income statement, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows, and how they can be put together to form an actual business. So if you're ever going to deal with money, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are working in the marketing part, if you are a project manager managing a full project or a product, I'm sure you need to understand these financial statements. This is the language that accountants speak. And since you cannot be very far away from money, if you are in actual business, you need to understand the financial statements. The second part, we will analyze these financial statements. So when we analyze these financial statements, the first thing that we would be doing is the ratio analysis. Then we'll understand some of the concepts on corporate finance. Is that okay? Then we'll understand the concepts related to break-even analysis and also related to unit economics. You could either put unit economics in the advanced concepts, or you can put it as an analysis of the financial statements. Once you understand how these financial statements are analyzed to make actual business decisions, please note that these are important concepts that you need to understand to make business decisions. These are how sort of businesses are reported. Is that okay? These are reports that need to be created. What kind of data is stored? These are actual decisions, as in how decisions should be made on the data that flows in. And then we'll understand, eventually we'll top this up with the advanced concepts on accounting and finance. So when we understand the advanced concepts, we'll understand some of the advanced accounting concepts like goodwill, depreciation, deferred taxes, etc. And we will understand unit economics, etc. Inventory accounting and accounting abuses, as in how you can misuse the reports to show better results than actually you have. Is that okay? So that's some of the advanced accounting concepts and how they are being used in the real world. All through the sessions, we will be using MS Excel, case studies, presentations, exercises to make sure that that they remain interesting to you and you find real value in the course. I'm sure if you go through the course, you will be able to understand the full concepts in a hands-on fashion. So if you have any further questions related to the course structure or anything, feel free to write an email to me on paramdeep@edupristine.com. And I'll be happy to listen to your questions and queries and happy to address them. So best of luck and look forward to seeing you in the actual course. Thank you and bye-bye.